Hello to you and welcome to this video. And this video is the reaction video to a video by Novara Media called What the hell is a trad wife? Ash Sarkar debunks. So let's dive in to the video that I'm going to be reacting to. Just for anyone's information out there, I am actually not a trad wife. So this is not that kind of a reaction video. Just to make that perfectly clear.
Lately, I've been seeing this thing pop up on social media.
We are going to talk about how you can become a traditional wife.
How I went from a raging, free the nipple.
It's like, how can you become a millionaire in just 5 steps? It's just like, okay, how can you become a slave to one individual? Possibly more. Okay, that's interesting how-to video. I mean, I wouldn't make that because it's like, be a Uyghur in China, how to become a slave. Woo! Yay! Ugh. Just feels off.
Nipple feminist.
To becoming a traditional feminine woman.
Okay. Stock, not like stock images, but like the typical. Okay, I mean. Like, are you constantly pregnant? Just continuously? It's like, yeah, I'm just like, I just became constantly pregnant. I've never given birth before. I'm just constantly pregnant, It's just all the time. Just all the time. Been pregnant now for past 20 years, maybe? Yeah, I've never given birth or anything. Yeah, it's...
Ways that I live traditionally in our modern world.
I don't understand. What's the point?
Okay, let's put this down. The way I live in the modern world traditionally, which is kind of contradiction in terms, let's be honest, but also, in that case, you wouldn't have a device to record this for you, Let's be honest about this. Just at the start, like, come on, you don't have access to a phone where you can record your own material and post it online if you're a trad wife. Say this setup here, what the fuck is that? That's like a misogynistic podcast setup. Like, you don't have that. No, your husband does, because they're a prick. Sorry, I'm just saying, anyone who likes that in a person, like, it's just I guess it's like a kink, Like, I feel like maybe that makes it be like, you want to have a slave, so your partner role plays as a slave for you, so it just makes me feel kind of icky about you.
Point of arguing with him.
Immaculately made up women gazing wide-eyed into their phones, singing the praises of being a trad wife or traditional wife. I'll let her explain.
Wait. Sorry, what was that?
Of being a trad wife or traditional wife.
Biblical submission is not the same as abuse. Yeah, guys, the Bible, Today, we're gonna look at the Bible. All of that fucked up stuff in it. Ignore that. That definitely doesn't make it seem a bit, yeah, maybe don't use the Bible as your text for it's not the same as abuse, except, wait, a lot of abuse does happen in the Bible, yeah. I mean, Jesus gets executed by the Romans. That's portrayed as a bad thing, but it's still what's the anyway.
I'll let her explain.
If you're not familiar with the
Okay, one side thing. You do realize, right, if you're gonna be a traditional wife, you can't be dressed in certain ways. You have to be and I don't mean typical. I mean you can't be revealing certain things, because that's not really in there in the traditional roles. The traditional role is to be revealing maybe behind the scenes, but not necessarily in the open. By the way, just to make sure, I don't agree with that sort of thing of you do as I say. Just to be very clear, I don't agree with the idea of being a traditional wife, because I feel like it's a bit like saying, yeah, I mean, I'm just a traditional person. Back in the day, we used to have slavery, and now I follow the same rules. So legally they don't own me, yes, but effectively they do. great. I guess that's tradition, but it's not a good tradition at all. This is not a good tradition. A lot of people would have this argument where, I would say that this is not, maybe you might want to see what the tradition is, because, it seemed to match in all the traditions anyway.
The term tradwife, it is a woman who chooses to live a more traditional life.
Wait, do you really choose though? Because why did you choose? It's a bit like, Stockholm syndrome. Did you choose to follow that person who's abusing you, or possibly is that, that you didn't choose in that scenario? Really, that's external factors. Because, well, why would you choose? You make terrible choices then. But what if instead of it being a choice, it's more subtle, kind of. Person may not even realize that they're kind of pushing you towards that. Like media. So media.
With ultra traditional gender roles. So the man goes outside the house, works, provides for the family.
What if he's shot through the face? Like, or like falls into a wood chipper, or, is that like the unveiling of like a giant shredder and just what if that happens? What do you do then? Because what would you do then? Because in certain editions you're not gonna be able to find another one, because that's not okay. No, it'd be a widow.
The woman stays home and she's the homemaker. She takes care of the home and the children if there are any.
Wait, you have to wonder though, the whole thing of like taking care of the home. But like, okay, but like, what if someone breaks in to the home and starts stealing stuff? Do you like bludgeon them to death or something? Like, what exactly? How does that work in different circumstances? Let's say a fire starts in the home. Do you call the fire brigade, or do you call the fire brigade and begin to put out the fire yourself? That sort of thing. Like, what is meant by, do you just mean general housekeeping? Well, yes, but that would be seen as like almost OCD, to be constantly cleaning a house. That's probably not good, because of the modern day house cleaners are filled with chemicals that are, best used, in only when necessary. And when I say necessary, I do mean not like necessary. I mean like, like it's dirty. But if it's not actually dirty, don't clean it, because that's, there's no need to. So that's one of the things. Like, there is the thing like, well, do you need someone to be at home the whole time? With children that are very young, maybe, but that's more of as like an insurance policy. Like, well, obviously, if a child starts choking, if there's no one there, well, yeah. That's not going to end well. But the point is, though, that's more of an insurance policy rather than an actual, you need to be there because you will. But then, of course, then we're going to end up doing there is you're going to end up expecting things. So then what's going to happen there is that you're going to be demanding work, or work isn't necessarily necessary. But, of course, then what happens there? That's the thing. And in a lot of cases, this is what happens, really, which is, if you look at it, if you look at the way that it often works, it means that you end up really just giving a lot of work, and then you just end up giving too much work. This is why, like, basically, being the person at home is most of the time like it's like harder work than going out. So just what I'm trying to say is basically the person in the home is often working more physical jobs, more, time consuming, more harder job. They're doing a harder job. So realistically, if you're like, oh, this person does job stronger, then you'd give the job to the person who does the job's stronger and has, that thing. You give them those jobs, because if you work in an office on a computer, that's significantly less demanding than cooking food and cleaning, obviously. Obviously. But anyway.
Thanks for that. Though the idea of women being confined to the home while men do things like go outside and work isn't exactly new. The image of 1950s suburban domesticity has been given a new lease of life by the gals on TikTok.
Can you imagine
TikTok.
me, the wife of that boorish, brainless
What?
man? Can you imagine me, the wife of that boorish, brainless?
Wait, what? It's just like, he's fucking stupid. Although, I guess, I mean, that would be a bit weird. You know, a trad wife in a lesbian relationship. This is like, well, I mean, it's not, though. You're not a traditional relationship, are you? I don't think you can be, you know. But anyway, I guess if you just specifically focus on your part. But, you know, anyway, my point is basically like, you just like, they're stupid. Great idea, yeah. I'll depend on them for my financial security by, you know, I know that they're fucking stupid. Maybe they're a CEO, I guess. Maybe that, so you're like, nah, it shouldn't matter really. I mean, like, they're definitely gonna bring in a load of money. It doesn't really matter that they fucking take like, sure they've got the shares in the business, so conservative trad. Okay, so you are just a fucking idiot then. You're not just like, you don't have just like extreme Stockholm syndrome or something like that. You are just like a total idiot.
Some younger millennials and Zoomers have decided to embrace living la vida casserole, dedicating themselves to cooking, cleaning, and child rearing while their husbands or boyfriends, I don't know, chop firewood or go to their job in human resources. And
Which
look,
is
I'm not saying there's
significantly less like hard work, like physically hard work. Significantly less. Like, it's like, yeah, you know, the man is big and strong and he talks to people and on the phone and on a computer, which is obviously significantly harder physical work than, you know, cooking or like cleaning or yeah, because that's definitely yeah, that's the thing. It doesn't really work in the modern world because like a lot of physical jobs have been automated, so a lot of the remaining jobs are now at least, maybe not so for very long. You know, a lot of them are quite sitting at a desk, on a computer, and or overseeing um people. So managerial roles, managerial over machines, and so a lot of jobs are, you know, still obviously in that they're still in that industry of like tertiary sector. You know, it's working in like shops, but in other cases, those things are not necessarily physically. This is gonna come out as well. Physically as physically demanding, but still, of course, in that same level where it's like, well, yes, it's not necessarily, it's not, of course, not all, you know, just like there is the whole thing of like packing shelves. Obviously, it's not going to be a not hard job to do. If you're working in Amazon, then yeah, like you're gonna be working a physically arduous task. Although I think that might be though about Amazon, like, you know, about them like pushing employees to the brink necessarily, not necessarily about, you know. But anyway.
anything inherently degrading about being a mum or making nice meals. I like cooking elaborate dinners. For that matter, my boyfriend does too. But the tradwife trend isn't just a way to talk about the experience of being a woman and doing domestic labour. It's saying that being a woman
Don't ever call someone a hobby. Jesus fucking Christ. Okay, that's, yeah.
or expressing your femininity most fully means doing all the domestic labour. Men and women are meant to have.
Can I give a piece of advice for anyone who dresses like they're in the 1950s? You do realize if you dress from a time, you do seem like you've got something like possibly mentally a small mental issue that maybe you might want to see like someone who could help you, because in that case it's not so much like I like to do these things, this is what I do. It's more like no, I like this specific time period. You know, is that also, are you homophobic? Is that also okay? Yeah, I get that. So yeah. So basically, yeah, maybe you might. Do you actually think that you're in the 1950s? What year is it? Can you tell me? You know, what is that? What's behind that there? That is profoundly weird. You should.
rigidly distinct roles in the home, in their relationships,
It's not.
and crucially, in economic activity. So, this isn't just about personal choice or individual preferences, it's advancing a right wing political
Yeah.
ideology and dressing it up as a lifestyle. So, why is this important? 3 things. These women are often really young, in their 20s, and they're preaching the values of submitting to a husband to an audience of other young women. The tradwife trend doesn't exist in isolation.
Oh yeah.
It's linked to deeply regressive political and social movements such as Christian and white nationalism and anti-feminism.
Feminism is an
Oh, apparently this fellow's been released from prison.
ideology which cannot be defended by feminists.
It's part of a wider shift of young people being
I do wonder about some of these people, like, you know, how would they feel if they were murdered? I mean, like the uber masculine man, you know, like how would they feel if they were just murdered? Because they could very easily be murdered. A bomb or anything like that doesn't really require strength; it just requires explosives. So what would happen in that scenario? Because a lot of like other people are more aware, and they're less sort of like stupid. But like that kind of like stupidity, I do wonder.
satisfied with neoliberalism and wanting social change. So, let's talk about the way in which tradwife culture presents the ideal relationship. Men
No, wait,
are
let me say,
provided.
the problem is that this is an issue with a lot of ideologies, which is basically saying, "Oh, I like this ideology. Also, I do ignore these bits." Similar with religion. A lot of people who are called Christians are just ignoring a bunch of Christianity. Like, yeah, no, you can't really be a capitalist under Christianity. Sure, we don't need to look at that. No, don't want that. Oh, you want to be homophobic because of your religion, really? Just added that in there, eh? Okay. Right, so but no, you just are a homophobe then. You're not actually homophobic because of your religion. You just say it's your religion. Maybe you honestly do believe that, but that's something you've convinced yourself. And other people have convinced you is the reason. But realistically, no, that's bullshit. So that's kind of an issue here, which is like if you think about it, wait, but if you say you're a traditional wife, then why exactly are you driving a car? Why exactly do you have a phone? You shouldn't have those things if you're a traditional wife then in that case. So you're basically saying, oh, all these things, but also no, you know? So you're picking and choosing, but also saying, I want to be this thing, but also no, you clearly are not though. You know? If you're doing a video inside a car, inside the driver's seat, well, that's not a traditional woman's role, is it? I'm not saying, once again, to make this clear, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. What I'm saying is it's a bad thing when someone starts telling you this is how you should be, and I'm happy from this, but also directly contradicting what they've just said there by saying, oh, you want to be, but then why are you not in that situation when it comes to the platform? Because it seems like you seem to be very, very contradictory when it comes to promoting it, when it comes to sharing that with the world. Because how exactly will you share the fact that you've got a traditional gender role on that area? That's not your husband's TikTok account, is it? So then, well, that's not a traditional gender role, you know? Is it? It's not, you know? What you're doing there is you're defying the traditional gender role in order to push a traditional gender role, which is propaganda. You know? The Nazis did that. You know, like women
which means that
would like to
only
work
they participate.
as propaganda machines, which they would work against the Nazi typical gender role to show the typical gender role, which is immediately how you can tell, do you actually want this, or do you want others to be like this? Because if you're willing to defy the actual gender roles in order to spread it, then it's like, okay, what's going on there? You know?
In paid work and make all the financial decisions.
He is responsible for the final say in all of our financial decisions.
And this is
Jesus,
presented
man, like you're gonna be careful with that. Like it's like, yeah, I mean, you know, we are a bit concerned actually. You know, my son came up to me and said, "Daddy took out a loan to buy one of those expensive cars because he saw an uber masculine man say that you should buy one of those cars, and now we're in major debt. We weren't in debt before because we didn't need to be, but now we're in major debt because he like put all of his income. He owes basically all of his income to the car company now. Yeah, fuck it. Turns out we should not give the financial responsibility to one person if you're both dependent on that one person's financial income. That seems like an obvious fucking thing, you know? Don't just go, yeah, we should put all, because we depend on them, so they should make all the decisions without consulting us at all. Definitely, that's not gonna lead to any problems at all. Oh my god, I'm actually like, that's slightly brain
as a kind of equality. While men and women have separate roles, they are equal in their value. Insisting on the equal value between paid employment and unpaid care work, which, by the way, is a feminist position, hence the Wages for Housework campaign of the 1970s.
Yeah, like it makes sense though. Like you'd pay someone for working home, and I guess the thing. It's the same with like care work. Like a lot of people will, they won't have a job, but it's they care for a family member, or they care for someone, so they aren't actually like they aren't a care worker for somebody. They're not like a care worker for an elderly person. They're a care worker for someone in the family who has to be cared for, but they're not paid for that. You know, they're not paid for that, and it's billions. Governments around the world make billions off of this by just not paying people. You know, it just makes so much money for these industries, because instead of having to pay for people to actually do this work, they just you're basically just a slave. You know, and why? Well, like you understand the difference. Like if I care, let's say I have a parent who is in an unfortunate position that they need to be cared for, right? If I take care of them, basically the reason why I'm not getting paid is because they're my parent. If they were, a different person who had an accident, a different person who had a medical issue, I would be getting paid. Now, of course, that's the point. If you have the circumstance, if I'm saying, oh, you're not going to pay someone for housework, and you're also not going to pay someone who does care work because that person doing care work is doing for a family member, why? You know?
70s gets twisted into something much more sinister, willingly giving up financial independence. This isn't all soft filters and sourdough inspiration. It wasn't until the 1960s in America and the mid-1970s in the UK that women had the legal right to open their own bank accounts or access credit, which meant that many women, particularly if they didn't work, were entirely financially dependent on a man, and this dependency didn't create happy marriages. As Betty Friedan found in her 1963 book The Feminine Mystique, middle-class American women who were living the suburban dream of husbands and housewifery were fucking miserable. In the 1950s, the average age of marriage for women was falling.
To be fair though, in a society in which you basically become a slave to a single individual, that individual is incentivized to just basically do as they want. Meaning that you're like, well, how about we do this? And they're like, no. so you're not going to be very happy. I'm just saying, to be fair, if you give someone the ability to treat you like a slave, or you give someone the ability to treat other people like a slave, those people who are being treated like slaves are not going to be happy. Even if they're this happened a lot actually, where people would get into happy marriages, but because of the way that it worked, it meant that you had someone who had all the power in the relationship that would, well, corrupt it. You know? So even if you entered a marriage perfectly willingly, it wasn't arranged, and you are perfectly happy, as years go by, it falls into this thing. Because instead of, coming to an agreement, you now have do as I say. Which is not a good policy to have in a relationship. It's fucked up.
And the number of children they were having was rising. In order to roll back on the relative social autonomy of women in the 1930s and 1940s, post-war American culture had begun to relentlessly focus on the idea that fulfillment for middle-class women meant being a housewife. For working-class women, of course, they were just meant to be the middle-class women's nannies, housekeepers, and helpmates. But even with the labour-saving technology of dishwashers, washing machines, and the sweat of women poorer than them, still the suburban wives of America were not satisfied.
If you don't know, dishwashers were originally invented to wash dishes more carefully, so that they wouldn't break. Not only because dishes back then were, somewhat, the issue is if you want to buy the more expensive thing, it's going to be the basic metal is the only thing that's like particularly strong. So washing dishes by hand is more likely to lead to breakages. So that was one of the reasons why the dishwasher was invented. So,
Frieden identified high rates of depression, dissatisfaction, and dependence on barbiturates. Women being forced into a life where they were denied autonomy and the use of all of their mental faculties was decimating their mental health. And with financial independence limited, or in some places impossible, it was incredibly difficult to get out. Though the trad wives of 2023 talk about men being in control of the household finances like it's a charitable act. Oh no, my stupid lady brain can't cope with taxes. It's a hugely dangerous thing to do.
Yeah, also, taxes are, in America, feels almost intentionally complicated.
Very much do so ask permission to spend any kind of money, even $1. I will ask.
Why? Exactly. Why exactly would you, not feel as if that's kind of dodgy? I'm just literally, even if you like that, just thinking about it in the perspective, what does the person who I'm asking get out of this? Because even if you are perfectly fine with it, what the fuck do they get out of it? I wouldn't want to be in a fucking relationship with the person I was with had to ask me. I'd be like, fuck it, no. No, that just feels weird. What do they get out of it? Because I get really concerned that the reason that what they get out of it is like a feeling as if they're a fucking slave owner.
According to Women's Aid, nearly a third of abuse survivors say that their access to money during the relationship was controlled by the perpetrator. A quarter report that their partner did not let them have money for essentials during the relationship. And a third have had to give up their home as a result of the abuse or leaving the relationship. I'm not saying that every relationship where men are in charge of the finances is abusive, just that giving up your financial autonomy and placing it in the hands of your partner is highly risky if things do indeed go wrong. If you've ever spent time on Tradwife TikTok, you'll notice a certain irony that despite rejecting modern womanhood, its advocates love nothing more than appropriating the language of feminism in order to advance anti-feminist goals.
Because men and women...
You know what this feels like? It feels like like a fascist is paying them to say these things. Because why the fuck are you on TikTok then? You don't seem to be following the whole traditional lifestyle completely. Except, of course, that, as I've said, it does seem like maybe you're following a lot of stuff, except for the cases where it means it would stop you from communicating with the masses. It's like a cult, like a cult. You're like, yeah, except that thing. I'm allowed to do that thing. It's like, okay, but what feels like maybe the cult is very much focused on attracting new members. So, what's the reason for that exactly? How? So we're not allowed to communicate with the outside world except you are, but to attract new members. Okay, right.
Are so different, and that is okay. We as women just need to learn that that is okay. Stepping into your feminine side is okay. Being a mother is okay.
Once more, this dresses up being explicitly submissive to your husband as an act of individualist liberation. But the simple truth is that if it were possible for men and women to be socially equal but financially unequal, the tradwife trend wouldn't be popular with reactionaries and the far right. Is the very fact that it advocates women voluntarily.
The thing with the far right, though, is that it is generally white, straight, cis men who are rich. Amongst certain things. In America, they are oftentimes very Christian and very Protestant, or, sort of like, it depends. You do have other sort of things, but, they're very oftentimes very Christian. So that sort of person is the end goal, to only have that person on top. So the idea is, okay, so how do we do it? Okay, so we can use legislation to push down people who are trans. We can use legislation to push down people who are gay. We can use just basically social sort of pushing down of women. We can do this for all these sort of different people. And that is, of course, an end goal. Now, obviously, certain far-right people would take the more ethnic cleansing route. But others are like, no. You just have to do what we say. Second class citizen situation there. So obviously, yeah, this does feel like, it's like propaganda.
Narrowly surrendering their autonomy by presenting it as an aspirational lifestyle, which makes it so popular with conservatives, misogynists, white nationalists, and religious fundamentalists.
She was not wife material. I had to chop and screw her mind a little bit.
What the fuck, man? I hope this is you being caught on camera by accident, because if you honestly, said that knowing you were on camera, I hope you go to prison and your people go to call you a fucking idiot. Because seriously, is that not a crime?
I was playing Operation with her brain.
The tradwife trend sits in the middle of an online content.
Is that not illegal? It feels, oh god.
Network, drawing together different subcultures, movements, and interests. Its focus on homemaking connects to other lifestyle content like recipes, interior decor, skincare, soft life, and homesteading, which is like farming but made aesthetic. Its interest in marriage and relationships, obviously, links to dating, psychology, and self-help. And its rigid belief in fixed gender roles, its rejection of feminism and liberal, left-wing, or progressive values, and its emphasis on Christianity means that it has lent a feminine veneer to conservative far-right and white nationalist ideologies. One thing that comes up again and again is this idea of women submitting to their husbands as a form of submission to God.
Wives, respect your husbands. It's biblical. It's in the Bible.
You treat your husband as the head of the household and obey.
Sorry, you're a fucking idiot, actually. I wonder how many people actually have read the original Bible. Very few people have. Very few people. Mostly because it's not in English. So, not mostly. Fuck, jeez. But you know what I mean? It's the Bible has been significantly changed. Even if it was it's in this book, which has been translated multiple times, and people have added to it multiple times, and you celebrate Jesus' birth on the 25th of December. That's fucking wrong. That's just objectively false. Even according to the rules of the Bible itself. it doesn't even match up with the rest of what the Bible says about that day. So it's like that was changed. Like even in a story, like if you just have a story, like any sort of like story, if you just pick from it and go, well, actually, we're gonna change this little fact here. Like let's say Roald Dahl. Let's say they rewrote Roald Dahl's James and the Giant Peach to be, I don't know, an orange instead. You know, it wasn't a peach, it was an orange, right? But they kept all the references to, like, they just changed the word peach to orange. It wouldn't really fit. You'd be like, well, that's not how an orange works, though. What do you mean the center of the orange stone? Oranges don't have a stone. They have pips in them, but they don't have stones in the center. What are you talking about, bro? No. You know what I mean? That wouldn't make much sense, right? And it's the same thing in the Bible. The facts around Jesus' birth don't match up around the date that it's supposed to be on. Now, we can work backwards and go, oh, so yeah, you know? So the point is, there's many things in the Bible that have been changed, so I wouldn't trust it for that. And except for that, the Bible also says various other things that I don't believe you would agree with, being a little fascist.
Obey him. It's a sacrifice, but it is a sacrifice well worth it.
And this
How
is
the
meant to be a
fuck do you know? Sorry, but like, how do you know? It's like, yeah, I mean, I bought this lottery ticket, so I'm sure I'll win. It's like, okay, but if not, you just gave up a couple of quid for nothing. Gambling is objectively just not really a great idea. As a thing, you're literally just going, yeah, I'll put money down, and if I win, you do realize the whole thing of gambling is like, you win because others lost. Gambling companies do not make a loss. You win because, like, if you win $1 million on the lotto, it's because a load of other people spent their money and they didn't fucking win. You know? That's how you won, because they lost. So in that system, you have to ask, well, how is that that's just like redistribution of wealth, but based off of random chance? Technically, in some cases, not really. But anyway, that sort of thing. So like, what are you even talking about? It's worth it. Would you know?
Reciprocal relationship. You, as a woman, don't have to feel degraded by submitting to your husband, because the premise is that his religious beliefs stop him from behaving badly.
You want your wife to follow you? Be a man and follow Jesus and give her a reason to.
If only we had any history of religious men wielding their power to abuse those more vulnerable than them.
I mean, wouldn't you know? Imagine a priest. Imagine priests must be very delightful. I'm sure they've never done anything bad. It's not like more priests do pedophilic things than, you know, the average person, or like more CEOs do that or anything like that. It's almost like people with power do bad things at a greater scale than people without power. Imagine that. Isn't that just a massive shock? Like, yeah, turns out you shouldn't give someone fucking power, because it tends to corrupt fairly fucking quickly. You know. It's the same thing with actors. You revere them and, yeah, they'll do better.
Like with the example of finances, the idea of submission is that by giving up her independence, autonomy, and power, a woman will be taken care of by a good and godly man. She serves him, he serves Christ, but only one person is scrubbing out the toilet. But the influence of fundamentalist religion extends far beyond whatever private arrangements a couple may have as part of a household. Tradwife culture is dominated by aggressively anti-abortion, anti-birth control, and anti-sex views.
Wait, anti-sex? Can I just say, if you're anti-contraception, I wonder what happens. You're anti-abortion, anti-contraception. I think this may sound bad, or about 40 minutes into here, this is going to sound bad. A lot of people are going to leave here. But what happens if, you know, a doctor tells you that, unfortunately, the fetus inside you is going to kill you, But actually, there's no real issue because we can just abort it. Do you say no? They're telling you it's perfectly fine. It's fine. There's no medical risk here. But if you don't abort the fetus, it will kill you. Do you say no? Because I wonder. Because if you're so anti-contraception, also, can I just say, like, why? Like, just why? I just of interest to me though. Like, would you say no in that scenario?
Using the language and aesthetics of wellness influencers, tradwife, religious, and conservative advocates have taken to TikTok in order to push disinformation about birth control. This can range from falsely calling the pill a carcinogenic to hyping out the rhythm or pull-out methods on social media. Just to be clear, these are less forms of contraception than they are playing pregnancy roulette.
All in black.
As well as celebrating.
Yeah. Like, also, like, just the weird sort of attitude, like, if you're like, do you want to, what happens if, your husband turns away from Jesus and becomes, I don't know, Scientology maybe? I don't fucking know. You know what I mean? What if they become an atheist? Oh my. Do you want to have children with an atheist? That's disgusting. They don't believe in Jesus as a religious figure. Wow. Do you want to use contraception then, or do you just want to ban sexual at all? Because I would say that should be, up to you. You shouldn't have to have sex with someone, obviously. I mean, legally speaking, you don't have to, but you know what I mean. But what I'm saying is in that scenario, well, if you can't just have a thing where like, oh no, you're anti this, but you should have that for your personal stuff. And also, there's a whole issue behind it, which is like, well, being, having contraception is not like a trade-off. It's not like, oh, you have to give something in to protect. No, you don't. You just have to, like, it's just, yeah. It's like just a shield, So maybe just have the shield, I mean,
Celebrating the overturn of Roe versus.
Only circumstance, sorry to interrupt. Only circumstance you would want is if you were intentionally trying to have a child. Like, actively trying. And even then, there's some contraception that doesn't even stop that, so, so, like,
Versus Wade. Some tradwives have allied themselves with the conservative right by taking aggressively transphobic stances, contrasting trans, queer, and even just feminist women to their authentic, natural, and politically reactionary model of feminism.
What?
Even just feminist women to their authentic, natural, and politically
The Matrix has attacked.
reactionary model of femininity. There's a conspiratorial.
So I may lose my job soon at the hospital over the vaccine, but I'm ready, and I trust God. Besides, I can't wait for my perfect homemaker and future wifey skills. Yay! Fuck you. Anti-vaccine. Okay, maybe. Wait, what? Like, okay, I mean, that's
edge to some of the big tradwife social media accounts.
When you say feminism and the LGBT, okay, Q plus movement are both part of the depopulation agenda and cause a riot.
From pushing anti-vax and anti-mask content to claiming that feminism and LGBT rights movements are part of a depopulation agenda. There's an overlap, therefore.
Even if they were, would that be an especially bad thing? See, humanity is like a virus, really, It spreads around the world and slowly fucking kills it. Actually, slowly is a bit of a term because realistically, it's not that slow. We began actually, actively doing extremes in like the 19th century, and we've done quite a lot since then. We've done some pretty good work, you know. Clogged up the oceans. We've killed many animals. Just made loads of animals go extinct. So we're doing a really good job so far. I mean, we will probably end up killing ourselves off. So some animals might survive that way, because we'll kill ourselves off. But I'm sure that the billionaires will probably survive just basically because they'll just get people to build them bunkers, build them spacecraft, build them methods to transfer their consciousness into an AI chip so they can have like a version of immortality, all that sort of stuff. But the point I'm making is really, if all humans just died, it would really benefit the planet. And realistically, humanity, yeah, like, I'm just saying, you don't look like a particularly nice person. You know, if you're a homophobic, misogynistic prick, well, yeah, you know what? Hopefully the depopulation starts with you. Am I saying that you should die as a, misogynistic prick? Maybe.
Between the tradwife trend and white nationalism. This overlap can be implicit, subtle, and unconscious, taking place through aesthetics. This might be using adverts of white nuclear families from the 1950s to stand in for the universal ideal marriage, or contrasting the ideal tradwife to the stereotypical boss bitch, who's always associated with hip-hop culture and almost always black. This reinforces the idea that the ideal, most elegant, and most desirable model of femininity is white European. And women of colour are less feminine, more aggressive, and more in need of civilizing. But the
Wow, that's certainly fascist in the extreme. I mean, my God, that's yeah, where have I heard that? The civilized world before. I've heard it from the Romans, who murdered millions of people. The English, who murdered more millions of people. So yeah, basically all the great Nazi sort of style people. Probably shouldn't say Nazi though, because Nazi is a specific type of fascism. But anyway,
actions can also be more explicit. One mumfluencer called Wife with a Purpose issued a white baby challenge, calling on women to have as many
Steve King rightly says we can't restore our nation with somebody else's babies. I'm issuing a white baby challenge. I've made 6. Match up, beat me. Indeed. My gosh, almighty. Does anyone my God, almighty, that's like that. Yeah, you're sending me that's certainly explicit, alright. Who the fuck types that? Like, how does even the word like white get in there? Like, how? You must be a white supremacist then, because it's like, oh my God. Wow.
White babies as possible. This is an idea central to neo-Nazism.
Yeah.
Its adherents justify their violent and hateful ideologies by talking about the need to secure a future for white children and making sure that the beauty of the white Aryan woman, their words,
no offense meant, but like, white children are going to die unless they're rich, along with the rest of us. So, a little fascist. Sorry to break it to you, but yeah. Maybe one day that little white baby you have in your arms, yeah, they'll be screaming as the water fills up their entire house. They drown to death in the tsunami alongside, in like Las Vegas or something. Something like that, Because, well, the future's pretty fucked.
does not perish from the earth. Tradwives become an important component of the Great Replacement myth, pushed by white nationalists. If modernity is defined by diversity, both of lifestyles and of ethnicity, then the tradwife marks...
Because if you want to if you want to talk about who's better, white people are a devolved person. They have less protection against the sun. So for information, our deserts, the sandy deserts are expanding. The temperature is rising. I'm just thinking, which would be better in that scenario? Because I'm just thinking, well, who will be the first to contract skin cancer? The first one to contract skin cancer would be, the white person. So maybe white people, you might want to like remove the fact that, because you being white is actually going to hurt you when, the temperature keeps fucking rising. Because what I'm trying to say is that you'll be the first to like get some of the issues there. That's just the thing. So if we want to actually like talk about ethnicity and everything, yeah, guess what? If you're white, you're worse. Okay? Like that. I mean, it's a small thing, but it is a thing. I'm not saying there should be. I'm just saying, like,
The return to an era of social and racial conformity. Women with choices and agency aren't usually so keen on submitting themselves to a life of reproductive captivity in the interest of furthering racism. Hence, tradwives. White nationalism, anti-choice ideology, and religious fundamentalism aside, if you want to know with certainty whether the tradwife trend is an empowering reclamation of domestic labor or just regular old sexism made palatable with TikTok aesthetics, just look at the kind of men who approve of it.
I don't like girls who are over sociable. I don't like girls who know lots of people. I don't like girls who are always out.
As someone who, is totally down with looking at girls half naked on Instagram, it's fucking great, but...
Here are two men, both accused of sex crimes by the way, who have made money by sexualizing women. They've crafted their professional personas around having sex with lots of different women. But here they are celebrating tradwives and denigrating modern women. And that isn't because they want to treat women as a whole better, but because it serves as an excuse to treat lots of women much worse because they're not the good girls or whatever. That's not about embracing tradition, respect, and dignity. That's just old-fashioned misogyny. Okay. So, while I think all these things explain the political impact of the tradwife trend, they don't explain why it's so appealing in the first place. The answer is simple. Modern life, in many ways, sucks. It's hard to make the case in an era of low wages, high anxiety, precarious work, and extortionate rents that women are liberated just through entering the labour market. Everyone knows by now that leaning in alone won't make you a girl boss. The relative economic...
Yes, but... I mean, which is better? Yeah, I've got my apartment here, we're just about able to manage it between myself and my partner. But I've decided we won't manage it and we'll become homeless. Because, yeah, I mean, that's the sort of thing, like, some countries don't have that push because they're like, no, we're not fucking stupid. We know we need labor. So we're not gonna say, get back in the homeland, because that's kind of fucking stupid. You get misogyny like that when you are just a misogynistic, stupid prick. Like, that is not even how you'd build an economy. But you build an economy by having a lot of very cheap labor. So the rich can get very cheap labor. If every single woman is not if every single woman is in the home, well then, can the man not ask for more money? Because now suddenly, like around 50% of the workforce is now gone for the workforce. So inherently, this is the problem though. How exactly is removing people from... How is that supposed to help you as a person? That's my problem though. Like, sure, we have problems, but how is having more problems? If you say, oh yeah, our economy is becoming a problem, goods are increasing in price. Goods will further increase in price if you remove many sections of the population from employment. Because your money will shrink. As your money shrinks, what do you think happens there? Businesses go, supply's gone down, huh? Pop up the price.
security of previous decades, a job for life, housing you could afford, pensions, and a debt-free life has been obliterated in the slash and burn of neoliberalism. If you're under 45 or you don't own a house, the future can feel fucking bleak. You add to that the experiences that many people have dating, like being ghosted or being treated like you're disposable. It's no wonder that people feel dissatisfied, intensely so, with the status quo. There is a longing for care, for order, for security and certainty. And the fantasy being sold by trad wives is that all those things are in reach for women. If only we give up our autonomy and return to the gender roles of an imagined and idealized past. And that's the thing.
But like, it mistakes this. Like, if you were in a financial black hole, what you think? All men are just, yeah, I mean, they're all loaded, you know? No, actually. No. So, feel like that's gonna cause some issues there. Like, you know, how exactly is being dependent on someone going to be more financially freeing?
The lifestyle being sold is a fantasy. It's fictitious. As my colleague Moya Lothian McLean has argued, Tradwife TikTok doesn't really show images of domestic labor. It depicts domestic leisure.
Personally, I believe I'm not meant to work. I'm meant to do this all day.
It's like an extended
That is work though.
session of playing dress up. You get to glide around wearing floaty skirts and dresses, organizing your snack cupboard.
Also, can I ask, how much money do you make from TikTok? Or like, how many views do you get from TikTok? That sort of thing. Because, you know, then that would be considered your work. Making TikToks for the fascists to spread. You know?
And baking bread. And look, that's my idea of a nice day too. Who doesn't like an opportunity to feel gorgeous and eat nice things? This idealized portrayal of domestic labor chimes with a wider social media trend of soft life, a lifestyle of skincare and sourdough, taking the path of least resistance and doing so aesthetically. As work has become less rewarding, literally, the workers' share is declining relative to asset wealth, people seek comfort in images of serenity, relaxation, quiet, and nourishment. What influencers do, whether they're trad wives or Instagram babes, is tap into that human desire for respite and channel it into something else. So for your typical wellness human desire for respite and channel it into something.
Like, what the fuck is that, you know? You're able to give away, okay, well then.
Something else. So for your typical wellness influencer, that'll be woo-flavored consumerism. And for trad wives, it's an ideological insistence that if women make themselves dependent on men, they can find the ease and fulfillment they've been longing for. So, what to do about it? I think it means generating a different vision of fulfillment, happiness, emotional nourishment, and family life, which isn't predicated on the patriarchal domination of women. Work won't set women free, and neither will being ruled by men. It's freedom, equality, and reciprocal care that will.
We don't have equality. That's the thing. You know, none. That's fact. But here's the thing, though. Maybe we could get it. Who knows? Anyway, basically, end of the day, a lot of the time you will see this sort of weird thing of like, well, I mean, I don't really think that it's that's a good video, of course, but like I don't think that really it makes much sense to listen to that sort of talk from people, because when you look at it, it's like, okay, but you're making a TikTok. That feels like propaganda to me. So anyway, that's that. Thank you for watching, I guess, and if you want to come back next time for another video, if you want to subscribe, view other video, I don't know. If you want to do those YouTubey things, I don't know. Maybe in the future we'll all spend our time making videos online, and that'll be our jobs. Watching videos to make people money, and the ads we'll get will be, I don't know, you know. I guess basically what I'm trying to say is that, technically speaking, the world could be a better place. We don't need necessarily to have jobs at the current moment. A lot of jobs can be automated. The only problem is the current way the world is automate them to slash workers' pay, but keep the prices, maybe even reduce the prices slightly, but increase the profit margins. You know, not to just give people money and be like, yeah, you can do what you want now because, well, your job may be gone, but we didn't replace it by like downsizing or anything. We just replaced it by automating it. The cost saving analysis, well, we saved a little money, so there you are. There's your pay. So yeah, maybe in the future the world will be utopia, but I don't think it will unless you do something about it. Say goodbye. Yeah, Ah well. See ya.